did that poison come from, and then search for the trail of its possession. If it has been procured from a pharmacy, the poison register details have to be sought. If it has been procured from a commercial source, its purchasing records have to be sought. That would help further in the investigation. But all this is possible only when once we establish which poison was the offending agent. All physical evidences that are available, all possible of them, have to be recorded. And we also have to look into the possibility of poisoning by product tampering, like food tampering. This is one more possibility which may have resulted in the poisoning, whatever may be the manner. Next slide. The next step while doing the autopsy is qualitative and quantitative chemical analysis for confirmation of the suspected poison. And we must always remember that for this, proper sample collection and preservation are the essential components which will lead to a proper toxicological analysis. And one more thing that has to be kept in mind is that the negative test would only imply that none of the tested substance was the culprit. Getting a negative test must not lead to a conclusion that the death may not have resulted due to poisoning. If suspected, we must go on further by testing other substances which may be possible. Lastly, what we have to do is that we have to correlate the toxicological results with the clinical and the postmortem findings, the circumstantial and the physical evidences, to build up a likely chain of events and reach to the final conclusion of cause of death, timing of death by our autopsies, which would further help the criminal investigation to conclude the manner of death. Next slide, please. Now, once we've done the search, next slide, Vivekanshu. Once we are over with the crime scene search and we are also over with our autopsy. Next slide. We must remember that whenever we are at a crime scene, we must remember certain things which would lead to arousal of suspicion in a criminal investigation when we talk of a crime scene. One is when there is death of a normal, healthy individual. Second is that if there is anybody who's interfering with the victim, there is no sign of violence on the body, is one important thing which should help lead us to suspect poisoning death. Then if the findings present mimic some natural ailment and in spite of the treatment, there was no cure, again, poisoning should be suspected. If there is an illness which had been recorded in cycles, we should think of poisoning involved in the whole process. And common mysterious symptoms in a common group of people is again something which should hint us towards poisoning. And if the attendants are unable to reveal cause of death or conclude any suspected cause of death, that is again another thing which should lead to the suspicion of poisoning. Next slide. These are things which help us. Now, when the toxidromal search of the crime scene is done, what next? The autopsy has already confirmed the poison. Then the next steps in criminal investigation would be how this poisoning occurred. Was it accidental? Maybe due to some contamination, due to some overdose of a drug, due to a prescribed wrong medication, or it was self-administered. And self-administered may also be accidental or intentional self-harm. Then if it was administered by another person with the intention to harm, it would lead to some more investigation so that the thing can be proved as a homicidal death. Next slide, please. Now, proving poisoning. Proving poisoning has some components. One, that first and foremost, which medical evidence would give, the discovery of death, which resulted due to poisoning. Then after, it would lead to thought about motive behind the poisoning, intention of the poisoning. How was the poison that was responsible for death? How did that poison get access? How did the victim get access to the poison? Now, if death is caused by the poison, then sufficient sound evidence of presence of the poison in systemic circulation in our body organs must be there to conclude that this death occurred due to poisoning. And then manner of death will further lead to different things in the case but it can't be proven analytically or by our autopsies. It is a matter of criminal investigation, which we must always remember. We can only provide scientific evidences which may corroborate, so that criminal investigators get help to go further in their investigation. Next slide, please. Now, what we conclude is that a poisoning crime scene is one which is surrounded by mystery and invisible clues. But if a criminal investigator will focus on the possibilities, the mysteries may begin to clear and the face of the poisoner will get revealed. Now, each case, we must always remember that each case may also expose the society to some add-on recommendations to prevent such happenings, so that it is not just important for the investigation for the dead, but also helpful for preventing things for the living. Like if we talk about acid attacks, all activities from the people who were the people who were working for prevention of acid attack, they've done court cases and they've sought legal remedies for things, and this has, and the changes in the laws has helped in preventing such things to occur, such happenings. So always when we study things, when we do things, it is helpful. Next slide, please. Next slide. So the take-home message from this is that yes, maybe our ability to detect poisons has greatly improved over the past 100 years, but probably the ability to suspect poisoning in the first place may not have really improved, or may have even actually worsened for some of us. So what is important is that as a forensic expert, we must always think of it as an option, as one of the probable causes of death, must investigate it well. And it is important that we must not discuss our suspicions and findings in public. And we can later on focus on publishing our findings after the case trials are over, so that the medical world is enlightened with the scientific knowledge that we gain from the cases. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Vivekanshu, for your support in the presentation. Any questions, please?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very nice class.
Nice thing, Ali. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for keeping me here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for the enlightening presentation. We learned a lot.
Thank you, Vivekanshu.
Now I would like to invite, yes, ma'am. Now, if anyone has any questions, they can text it on the Zoom. So that will be answered in the conclusion. Now we would like to invite Dr. Priyanka Sharma for presenting an interesting, enlightening experience. And the topic is about the pesticides, the dilemma which occurs when we face a case of pesticide poisoning. I will make her the administrator. Just give me some time.
Thank you, Vivekanshu. Good morning, coaches, sir. Good morning, Disania, sir. Good morning, Dipali, ma'am.
Good morning, Priyanka.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
प्रियंका मैम, मैंने आपको होस्ट बना दिया है. You can share the screen.
Okay. इसमें only the host can share in this meeting.
हाँ, मैंने आपको होस्ट बना दिया मैम.
नहीं विवेकांशु, अभी हम शेयर नहीं हो पा रहा है मेरा स्क्रीन. Only the host can share in this meeting आ रहा है.
मैं दोबारा ट्राई करता हूँ.
हाँ.
बन गया आप.
ट्राई करिए प्रियंका मैम.
नहीं हो रहा विवेकांशु, मेरे only the host can share in this meeting ये मैसेज आ रहा है. Okay, आप ही रहो host and please share the presentation. You have the presentation.
हाँ मैं ट्राई कर रहा हूँ। एक्चुअल में जो प्राइमरी होस्ट है दिसानिया सर है, वो उन्हीं की साइड से होगा, क्योंकि वो मैंने उसमें आपको इनेबल तो कर दिया होस्ट, लेकिन वो अभी इसमें मेरे ख्याल से हो रहा है।
हाँ.
उनके पास नहीं डॉक्टर विवेकानंद।
Sana sir. Screen. Okay. Can we see the screen? Cholinergic versus opioid detox syndrome. Hello, Vivekanchu.
नो मैम।
नो मैम, अभी स्क्रीन नहीं दिख रहा है।
Okay. स्क्रीन दिख रहा है?
नो मैम, अभी भी विजिबल नहीं है। एक बार आप शेयर स्क्रीन पे उसको प्रेजेंटेशन को लीजिए। आप अपने प्रेजेंटेशन को है ना फुल स्क्रीन करिए मैम। आपके लैपटॉप पे आप अपना प्रेजेंटेशन फुल स्क्रीन करिए।
विवेकानंद, आप प्रेजेंटेशन शेयर कर लो।
ठीक है, मैं एक बार रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ कि मुझे अगर होस्ट बना देते तो फिर मैं शेयर कर दूँ।
नहीं, मैं होस्ट नहीं हूँ इसमें। मेरा जो स्क्रीन है वो नहीं शो कर रहा। ओनली द होस्ट कैन शेयर इन दिस मीटिंग।
ठीक है, ठीक है।
नहीं, मेरे लगा हुआ है। हाँ।
हाँ आपको बना दिया, होस्ट बना दिया।
प्रियंका मैम आप स्टार्ट कर सकते हो।
Okay.
यस यस।
Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Good
So
morning, good
today's topic is cholinergic and opioid toxidrome. So
Very
this
good.
topic was taken because cholinergic and opioid poisonings are most commonly which are encountered in our wards and in our hospitals. So next slide, please. So this is a very depictive cartoon or photograph of the symptoms in the cholinergic toxidrome. So you can see a person in very bad state reading a book called Bradycardia Times and sitting on a pot. So by seeing this photograph, we can have a picture of what the person with cholinergic symptoms will look like. So there will be stimulation of muscarinic receptors, which will cause bradycardia. So the person is reading Bradycardia Times. He will have meiosis, that is constriction of pupils. He will have sweating. So you can see the person is sweating profusely, and hyperperistalsis. So he has to go for the defecation, and as well as bronchoria, that is increase in the secretions in the lungs. And then he will have wheezing, excessive salivation, and urinary incontinence. Due to the nicotinic receptors, their stimulation will cause initial hypertension and tachycardia, as well as fasciculations and muscle weakness. So patients are usually agitated and anxious. In contrast to the opioid toxicrome, where the person is usually depressed and in sedation type of mood. So examples of cholinergic, the drugs causing cholinergic are usually the organophosphate poisons. And so these are carbamates, nicotine, organophosphates, including the nerve agent, that is the war gases, and physostigmine. Next slide, please. Now, this is also a very good photograph of the symptoms in the cholinergic syndrome. So we can see that there are 4 missiles that are coming from above. Then there are 2 big killer bees, killer bomb, killer mosquitoes, insects. Then the person is spraying something in the fields, that is malathion, parathion. These are the types of organophosphates. So the killer bees or the killer bombs are the bronchoria and the bronchospasm. So these are the 2 things which cause the death of the person. In this photograph, we can see that his lungs are gradually pouring with water, and almost half of the lung is filled with water. So that is due to the bronchoria, that is increase in the secretion in the lungs. So atropine is indicated for the management of respiratory symptoms, and pralidoxim will be useful for the neuromuscular manifestations. So initial dose of atropine is 2 to 5 milligrams IV for adults and 0.05 milligram per kg for children, and can be doubled every 3 to 5 minutes until respiratory improvement is there. So we are giving atropine not for the constriction of pupils, but for the respiratory symptoms. Then pralidoxim is given IV over 30 minutes in dose of 1 to 2 grams for adults and 20 to 40 milligram per kg in children. So dose of atropine is in milligrams and of pralidoxim in grams. So we can repeat the doses, and continuous infusion may be indicated. And these are some auto injectors are also available for military personnel and the first responders. Why military person? Because these war gases are also having these kinds of symptoms. Then benzodiazepines are given for muscle spasms, sedation, and seizure management, because as we had seen that muscle fasciculations and anxiety is a common symptom in cholinergic drugs. Next slide, please. Now, another brother of organophosphates is the carbamates. So this is, I'm taking a case scenario. This is also a cartoon. A boy is there. His lungs are also filled with, almost filled with water, and face is showing sweating and all that. He is having defecation and urination. Or upar se there are 2 killer bombs, 1 cockroach is there. And he wanted to kill the insects and the cockroaches. So he thought of drinking the bug kill. That is the insecticide that was present in his house, and he had a accidental poisoning. So I'll read out the case scenario. A child is playing in the backyard shed and he intentionally ingests some carbaryl insecticide by playing an imaginary game he calls Bugbusters. He presents to the emergency department with symptoms classic for a cholinergic toxidrome. Carbamates will inhibit the acetylcholine esterase in the synaptic junction of the peripheral and central nervous system and in red blood cells. But unlike the organophosphates, carbamates do not age the acetylcholine esterase enzyme. Age, that means the activity of the enzyme is decreased. As a result, carbamates tend to be less toxic than the organophosphates. So atropine is indicated for the management of respiratory symptoms, and pralidoxim will help manage in the neuromuscular manifestations. Next slide, please. So this is the scenario. The upper picture shows the ideal protective gear a person should have while spraying the insecticides in the field, and the lower picture is what we usually see or do in our fields. So we can see in the lower picture that the person is exposed from each and every area of his body, like his skin is exposed, his respiratory tract is exposed, his eyes and mouth, mucous membranes are also exposed. So he is very much prone for these poisonings. Next slide, please. Now, this is a table for differentiating between the neurotoxic OPCs from the OCPs, that is organochlorines. So, OCP and OPC and OCP is the abbreviation. These are neurotoxic, both are neurotoxic. Both OPCs cause CNS suppression, whereas OCPs cause CNS stimulation. The symptoms, because suppression is there, so drowsy or unconscious patients, and in OCP, due to the stimulation, the person is having seizures, tremors, paresthesia, and ataxia. The signs are muscle fasciculations and hypersecretory mode, and here also hyperreflexia is there. Pinpoint pupil is there, and here semi-dilated pupil is there. Toxidrome is cholinergic, and here it is GABA antagonist. Site of action is CNS acetylcholine, and here it is inhibiting the CNS GABA receptors. Mechanism of toxicity is binds to the acetylcholine receptors and cause cholinergic excess, whereas here the enhancer axonal depolarization by maintaining sodium channels in their open state. So this is the basic difference in the mechanism of toxicity. Antidote will be anticholinergic, that is atropine, and prevent the aging of acetylcholine, so pralidoxim is given. And in this OCP, sedatives are given, that is benzodiazepines, propofol, anti-epileptics, and this is also sedative. Then for easy recall, there's last में OP आता है, so FOS जो नाम होगा, that will be PHOS, FOS or VOS, ending in these things. And organo-OPs, that thiones, nons, oxons, carbamates में last में CARB carb लगेगा. और जो OCPs हैं, they are generally named with RIN, like Eldrin, LIN, END, chlorpyrifos, RIN. These are the this is how the names are generally spelled. Like examples are there: chlorpyrifos, glycophos. So these are examples. And in OCPs like lindane, LIN, benzene hexachloride. OPs with ON, this is thion, this is malathion, parathion, chlorothion. These are very common things. And in OCPs, pesticides end with END, like endosulfane, name with CHLOR, is chlordecone. More unique names like LD carbaryl, and pesticides like eldrin, endrin, dieldrin. So this is the basic difference between the OPCs and OCPs. Please, next slide. So these are the signs that we can usually see on the bottle or the packaging of the insecticide. This is according to the Insecticide Rules 1971, and these indicate the level of toxicity of a compound. So if it is red, It can be red, yellow, blue, or green. So red means very poisonous. And the warning is keep out of reach of children. If swallowed or symptoms of poisoning occur, call the doctor. So this is the most poisonous. And iske upar you can see a danger sign also with skull and 2 bones. The second one is less toxic than the first one with a yellow sign. And iske upar jo warning hota hai, is pe likha hota hai keep out of the reach of children. Then third hai uske upar पहले दोनों में ऊपर poison लिखा होता है, third में it is written danger, and the caution is keep out of the reach of children. And the fourth one इसके green है, this is the least toxic, इसके ऊपर सिर्फ लिखा होता है caution, and इसके ऊपर कोई भी warning sign नहीं होता है. So these the lethal doses in first one it is less than 50 milligrams per kg, whereas in the last one it is more than 5,000 milligrams per kg. So it is according to the categorization, according to their toxicity. Next slide, please. So we'll take a second case scenario. Here, there is a history of suicidal ingestion of unknown substance by a farmer at his opium farm after crop failure. So two possibilities are there. One is that the farmer hai, so he could have consumed an organophosphate or organochlorine. Second possibility is because he has an opium farm, so he could have consumed a large quantity of opium also. Secondly, that he vomited once and gastric lavage was done at a local hospital. So what was the contents of gastric lavage? We do not know about that. Third, on arrival to the emergency department, the patient was hemodynamically unstable and comatose. So here we can see, now we are beginning to see the signs that he is hemodynamically unstable, he is comatose and with pinpoint pupils. अभी क्या होता है कि pinpoint pupil होते ही we think of opium, but constriction of pupil can be present in other conditions also. Next slide, please. So these are 6 O's for a pinpoint pupil, and the size is below 2.9 mm, and normal size is 5 to 6 mm. So first O is, you should always think of opium and morphine. Second is organophosphates. Third is carbolic acid. Fourth is alcoholic coma. But when lower concentration of alcohol are there, we have a normal semi-dilated pupil. But when there is coma, we can have a pinpoint pupil in McEwan sign. Then we should think of kerosene and pontine hemorrhage, pontine bleeding. Others are curare and anesthetics, which are a bit uncommon in the hospital. Next slide, please. Now, next thing we should look for is the white froth at nose and mouth. Now, this is also a very misconception, like froth is there, then it should be drowning. Generally, it is thought of like that. But it is also present in other conditions, like opium, strychnine, cyanide, copper sulfate, drowning, edema of lungs due to heart failure, OPCs, carbon monoxide poisoning, barbiturate, DDT, andrin, electrocution, and epilepsy. So this is also not a sure shot sign of any one thing. Next slide, please. Now, when we further evaluated the patient, we saw that the pupils were bilaterally constricted and pinpoint. BP was 100/70. Tongue was moist. Heartbeat was 40 beats per minute. So this is a case of bradycardia with almost normal BP. SpO2 was 77, so it is reduced with oxygen at 6 liters per minute via NRB, and fine froth from nose and mouth secretions were also present. So what to do now? Next slide. We got the person's ECG, and because there was bradycardia, so again we should think of some more conditions where bradycardia can be present. So iska ek acronym hai, that is PACED, PACED. So other conditions when bradycardia is present are propanol, that is beta blockers, physostigmine, OPCs, and opioids. So इससे भी हम पता नहीं कर सकते कि OPC है कि opioid है. Then anticholinesterase drugs, clonidine, calcium channel blockers, ethanol or alcohols, and digoxin and Dargon. Okay. Next slide. So then we get to the next step. We got the ABG, and we saw that there was severe respiratory acidosis with pH was 6.9 of the blood. Next slide. So duty doctor administered injection atropine 5 ampule IV stat. Now, abhi doctor ne, now what were the consequences? Next slide, please. हुआ क्या? Patient became even more restless, irritable, and agitated. पहले तो he was drowsy, and now he became irritable and restless. Next slide. So atropinization is not based on the pupillary size. First thing is, this is a very, if I should say one take-home message, and this should be there, that atropinization is not based on pupillary size, but it is based on the secretions of the lungs. Next slide. So pupil size is not a dose titrating criteria. Rule out other causes of comatose with pinpoint pupil, opioid or pontine bleed should also be considered. Atropinization is based on secretions. Over atropinization is not indicated. जो हमारे डॉक्टर ने गलती की थी उसने 5 ampule stat लगा दिया without titrating the condition of the patient and judicially use the glycopyrrolate. Next slide. So the drug of choice should be intravenous naloxone, which is antidote to opioid. So how should it be given? It can be given like 0.05 milligram nasal spray if patient spontaneously breathing. And injection naloxone 0.2 milligram to 1 milligram IV if the patient is apneic, like he cannot breathe. And repeat until ventilation is adequate. The goal of treatment is adequate ventilation and not the normal mental status. So it should be titrated with the ventilation and not with the mental condition of the patient. If the response is inadequate after 5 to 10 milligrams, reconsider the diagnosis and perform the endotracheal intubation. So basic aim is that the patient should get to breathing normally. If hypoventilation reoccurs following the initial naloxone bolus, give additional bolus dose to restore the adequate ventilation. Next slide. Cholinergic toxicity. The signs and symptoms of cholinergic toxicity should suggest that cholinergic insecticide poisoning immediately. Clinically, tachycardia is commonly present over bradycardia in acute poisoning, and meiosis usually predominates over mydriasis. A turpentine oil-like odor is typical of organophosphate as it is used as diluent. So this odor was not present in our case. Next slide. Cholinergic pesticides. So organophosphates irreversibly binds with cholinesterase. We know that. Antidote is atropine for controlling the muscarinic receptors. Atropine is 1 milligram stat slowly and repeat 1 milligram every 5 minutes till drying of the tracheobronchial secretion. So this should be kept in mind. Child dose is 0.1 milligram per kg. Use preservative-free atropine to prevent the benzol toxicity. Pralidoxim reverses phosphorylation of cholinesterase. PAM 1 gram in 100 ml NS stat slowly and 1 gram per day infusion. This should be given. Pediatric doses 25 to 50 milligrams per kg. Carbamase reversibly binds with the cholinesterase enzyme. Next slide. So we should always remember Dr. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I of resuscitation. So A, B, C, D is, first is doctor say D hai danger. What is the danger? And what is the response? Well, danger means कि क्या-क्या आपके पास में threats हो सकते हैं. What possibilities of poisons are there? And always see the response of the patient. Like हमारे डॉक्टर ने क्या किया, एकदम स्टार्ट दे दिया and उसका जो response था that was adverse what was expected. Okay. Then starts the ABCD. That is, we all know A is for airway or antidote, B is for breathing, C is for circulation, D is for disability, E is expose the patient, like remove the exposure of the patient, F is for Foley's catheter, G is for gastric lavage, and I is for isolation wherever it is needed. Next slide. Airway and breathing are the first things that we always should take care. Always oxygen by NRV mask in OPC poisoning. Intubation or ventilation should be done as soon as possible. Next slide. Principles of decontamination. सबसे पहला है protect yourself. That is nosocomial poisoning. Right? जो patient है वो he's like in phosphine gas. Suppose the person is breathing out phosphine and you are inhaling that, then that will cause a nosocomial poisoning. So first is protect yourself. Second is remove the exposure. Like if the person is in the fields and he's still in contact with the organophosphates, or his clothes are wet with the organophosphates, so we must remove the exposure. We must clean the body. Irrigate copiously with water or normal saline, and don't forget your ABCs. हमारे खुद के भी ABC को नहीं भूलना है. If we are हमारा airway में problem है, go out, take another doctor. Internally, patient must be fully awake or intubated, and most common complication is aspiration. Usually this should be remembered. Next slide, please. Airway protection while whole body decontamination. In this slide, the person is giving, the medical attendant is giving oxygen by a mask, and simultaneously another person is washing the whole body. So this is the body decontamination. Next slide, please. Okay. So thank you, Vivekanshu. Any questions?
Very nice
Thank you, ma'am, for the nice presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
प्रियंका गुड मॉर्निंग.
Good morning, sir.
ये आतन बहुत तैयार करके आई है आज तो. बहुत अच्छी तैयार करके आई है.
Oh, thank you, sir.
विवेकांशु ने करवाई है इसको.
विवेकांशु ने कराई है. हाँ.
नहीं अच्छे
सबको मेरा काम ही ऐसे कोऑर्डिनेटर
करना है, तो एक्स्ट्रा तो होना ही चाहिए. उसके बिना तो कैसे चलेगा?
नहीं आज तो तैयार करके आई है. आज तो बहुत अच्छी बात है.
ऐसे ही लगातार अपने करते रहेंगे ना, तो यू विल बी groomed, well groomed
Yes.
for teaching.
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
very good. बहुत अच्छी तैयार करके आई है.
Thank you, sir. And sir, presentation was also very good. That was prepared by Vivekanshu.
नहीं
Some slides or contents है.
Vivekansu has prepared under the guidance of Pillai sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I know
sir.
the presentation is of Pillai sir.
Very nice, very nice. And today looking smart also.
Yes, sir. You are also looking very smart, sir.
मैं तो मेरे
आप भी अच्छे लग रहे हैं.
thank you.
आपको ज्वाइन कब करेंगे? हम आपसे समोसे पार्टी लेंगे सर पूरा.
Yes. मैं वहाँ LMB ले रहा हूँ सबको. LMB
ठीक है सर.
सबको LMB.
तो सर
Okay, thank you.
हाँ सर.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Nice.
Now we will start the next presentation. This is on venomous bites and stings. I will share the screen for the presentation. We are trying to cover all the topics. So it is one of the unexplored topics. We should know about what are the venomous bites and stings. That is a snake, cobra, crate, and vipers, the scorpion, red and black, the wasp, bee stings, and the
विवेकांश कौन है? स्पीकर कौन है?
मैं ही हूँ स्पीकर.
अच्छा आप ही हो क्या? Okay.
So discussing about common envenomations. Now snake envenomation is one of the major cause of mortality and morbidity. In the world, approximately 2.5 million bites and 1,25,000 deaths per year occur due to snake bite. India, approximately 2 lakh bites and 15,000 deaths occur. It is more common in rural India, and their seasonal fluctuations are seen more during the summers and monsoons, when there is flooding of the potholes and the holes in which the snakes live, so that they need to come out, and they find the places to hide, and they reach mostly in the huts, and they bite the children or sometimes the family while sleeping. So what are snake venoms? They are secreted from the venomous glands. The modified salivary glands. Contraction of the muscles leads to the ejection of the venom. It is a complex mixture of substances having one or more distinct toxic action. So they are highly specific targets are there. That is a neuromuscular junction for the neurotoxic snake bites, hemostatic systems in vipers, and endothelial cells causing the local necrosis as well as sometimes gangrene. So the mechanism of action is overlapping sometimes, or sometimes it is totally different. Like in neurotoxic, it is acting on the presynaptic neurons and it causes paralysis, and the person goes into comatose state and may die. And in coagulopathy or vasculopathy, the person starts bleeding from every side. And the most dangerous area is the airway, that is the gums, the tongue, and then the person may aspirate, and that can cause the sudden death due to aspiration. When we proceed for the mechanism of neurotoxicity, there are two more common neurotoxic snake bites, that is the krait and cobra, in which the presentation of the patient which reaches in the emergency is similar, but in krait it is beta bungarotoxin, which has presynaptic action. It causes inhibit the release of acetylcholine from presynaptic membrane and recovery dependent upon the regeneration of the terminal axon. Paralysis lasts several weeks. Anti-snake venom and anticholinesterase have no effect immediately. So we have to neutralize by giving anti-snake venom, and we need to secure the airway while managing the patients. In cobra, they are alpha neurotoxin, postsynaptic action, mechanism bind to acetylcholine receptors or postsynaptic membrane, and dissociation of the toxin receptor complex leading to reversal of the paralysis. And anti-snake venom and anticholinesterase reverses the neuromuscular blockade. So in krait, it is only the anti-snake venom which works, while in cobra, it is anti-snake venom and anticholinesterase. That is, neostigmine has to be given, and that can differentiate between cobra and krait bite, because that is postsynaptic action which is occurring in cobra. So snake bite toxicity profile, they are neurotoxic are the kraits and the cobra. Then the local toxicity is seen in cobra and other vipers, and the Russell viper is neurotoxic as well as hemotoxic. So why is identification of species crucial? Although we don't go for identification in India because we are having a polyvalent anti-snake venom, but if we are having monofab, that is individual anti-snake venom is there, then we can utilize in identification of the common snakes, which can be differentiated by the local signs and symptoms and the potential treatment which is available. As we discussed in cobra, there is local tissue damage there is ptosis or neurotoxicity seen, coagulation disorder is not seen, renal problems are not seen, and neostigmine and atropine are helpful. Because when we give neostigmine, it causes bradycardia, so we have to give atropine along with that to reverse it, so that person does not go into arrest. In krait, there is no local pain or tissue damage. Sometimes patient just present with pain abdomen or in unconscious state, and you will find there is ptosis, neurotoxicity. Coagulation disorder will not be seen. There will be no renal problem and not helped by neostigmine or atropine. In Russell vipers, saw-scaled viper, and other vipers, there is local pain, tissue damage, as well as there is neurotoxicity in only Russell's viper, not in saw-scaled viper. Coagulation disorder is seen in Russell viper, saw-scaled viper, and other vipers. And due to coagulation disorder, there is renal problems. That is, renal shutdown can occur because there is hemolysis. So the hemoglobin which is released from the RBCs that reaches to the kidney for excretion, and that blocks, and that causes the renal failure. And there is no role of neostigmine and atropine in all the viper bites. So neuropalatic snake bites, the clinical features are local reaction which appears in 1 to 2 hours. There is blister formation, tissue necrosis. They're commonly seen in cobra. While if there is only systemic features with no local reaction, then it is krait. Systemic features may evolve. When it is immediately the person is brought to us, we can find the pre-paralytic syndrome, in which the patient may present with pain, abdomen, vomiting, and paresthesias. And later on, patient may develop paralysis, that is acute myasthenic syndrome, in which there is cranial nerve palsies, ptosis can be seen, ophthalmoplegia can be seen, and dysphagia can be seen. Then limb paralysis, there is flaccid paralysis, absent reflexes, and the person can land up into respiratory failure due to acute myasthenic syndrome. Airway protection becomes important. When to suspect? When the person is rapidly deteriorating neurological status, when the person presents an early morning presentation, that is history of sleeping at floor in night, especially in the rainy season, and their vague symptoms like pain abdomen is there, and the patient is brought with history of pain abdomen and found unconscious. Then it is suggestive that there may be some snake bite or venomous bites can be there. Then we have to see for there if there is a sign of any snake bite is there. When there is rapidly developing swelling of the bitten part, then we suspect it is mostly vasculotoxic viper bites. There is local necrosis along with lymphangitis. There is persistent ooze from the bite mark and the site of intravenous access because it is vasculotoxic. So if it has been bitten, there will be oozing of blood or lymph from the site of bite mark. And there will be, even when we try to secure the line, IV access, then we can see there is bleeding, persistent bleeding or hematoma develops. So then it is a sign of vascular toxicity. Oliguria, loin pain due to renal ischemia, renal failure can be found in vascular toxic viper bites. So the diagnostic dilemma is when there is fixed dilated pupil with totally unresponsive state with absent reflexes, it simulates brain death. So we have to always think if the person is young, he has been found unconscious either in the farm or in at home early morning, then we have to always search for if there is any bite mark is there, and we should think in a differential diagnosis snake bite, because recovery is full if given supportive treatment. So person is unresponsive, unconscious, but if we secure the airway, we resuscitate, start the CPR, and give the antidote, then there is a chance of survival. So this is known as according to the latest guidelines, it is recommended that we should give prolonged CPR. That is, it should be prolonged for 45 minutes to 1 hour till we declare the person brain dead. We should find out there is a differential diagnosis for the possible reversible causes, which is one of the reversible causes is opioids. Another reversible causes is snake bite. Now the clinical features, the local effects, which can be seen in snake bite, minimal local effects, local blistering and swelling, which can be seen in viper as well as cobra. Extensive deep necrosis, it is typical of viper. Then bleeding from the wound, viper. Compartment syndrome can be seen. If bleed presentation is there, then it will be total swollen limb. So if you have seen a viper, it is swollen. Just like that, the limb of the victim, it also becomes swollen. And pain is variable. Systemic effects can be severe body ache, nausea, vomiting, headache, clouding of the sensorium, and the person can present with collapse or convulsions. Especially in children, they can present with seizure. So that is a typical presentation in children with snake bite, because there most of the times the bite mark is near the brain, that is on the ear, because their height is less. The cobra can hit on the face. In cases of children, we have found few cases in which it has been bitten just behind the ear. So it is not visible externally, but when we explode, so in children, we should always see that there may be bite mark on the head, on the face, behind the ears. When we examine the patient, the specific effects of paralysis can be seen. Average time of onset is 15 minutes to 24 hours. Ptosis with cranial nerve palsy is the first sign. The 4 dangerous signs are 4 Ds. That is the dysphonia, dysphagia, drooling of the saliva, and diplopia. Ophthalmoplegia, both external and internal, can be seen. Respiratory paralysis is appreciable. Flaccid paralysis can be there. And there will be absent deep tendon reflexes. That is a typical pathognomic finding of acute myasthenic syndrome that you have to think of snake bite,
अच्छा,
along with Guillain-Barré syndrome.
इसमें
present with
कहाँ से 50 के तो इसमें 10% भी कम करें तो 5 रुपए से
Now, when we think of coagulopathy, then the first sign is we can identify with whole
ये
blood
ले जाओ
clotting test. You can
ये
see
ले जा
in the
ऐसे ही लेना
vials with duration
ये ऐसे ही ले जा
it has clotted.
ये ले जाएगा तो इसके
First
साथ ही
evidence
ऐसे
is oozing from the bite, hemorrhage in the internal organs, coagulation profile is deranged, IV hemolysis noted, and it can lead to disseminated intravascular coagulation.
इसमें तो ऐसे खोलेगा तब आएगी
Now, specific effects of nephrotoxicity, leading cause of acute renal failure, multifactorial, the acute tubular necrosis and acute cortical necrosis can be seen. And anuria is a hallmark of acute cortical necrosis.
ये तो मैं काम में लेता हूँ तेरे को दे तो
Specific
देगा
signs of myolysis, not uncommon, that is severe muscle pain and tenderness, weakness, myoglobinuria, increased CPK and LDH. Now, CPK is one of the typical creatine phosphokinase enzyme.
कब से खुल रही है स्कूल
We investigate by managing any case of heart attack. So it is also raised in cases of snake bite. So we have to always send the
कौन सी
cardiac
स्कूल में
check
जाता है
in cases of snake bite if we suspect
इस वाले में
that it can cause
कितने नंबर में जाती है तेरी
because
यहाँ से
myoglobinuria is raised. Then the differential diagnosis for
और
hematuria
भी लाके देंगे क्या
that there is no clot
ये सैनिटाइजर
and no RBC on microscopic examination of urine.
हाँ तो ये छोटी वाली है तो
What is the first aid of snake bite? The first aid is reassurance, do no harm, stabilize the ABC, that is the life-threatening condition of the patient, delay the spread of the venom, be immobilized. Tourniquet is not advised. It is better to immobilize the limb, just like we immobilize in cases of fractures. And pressure bandage and splint can be applied because the movement of the limb, it can cause the movement of the venom, which is inside in the subcutaneous tissue. It can release into the intravenous circulation and that can reach to the brain and cause neuroparalysis. Minimize the damaging effect of the pressure bandage to the local extremity and irrigate the wound gently. We don't apply the tourniquet. Mouth suction of the bite is not advised. That is on the site of bite. We don't try to suck the wound because that can cause toxicity, secondary toxicity to the person who is trying to give the first aid. And incision of the wound is not advised. Pressure bandage, if there are marked local effects, then pressure bandage is not applied. And any other unproved method should not be applied, neither ice or anything. We should try to shift the patient to nearby hospital as soon as possible and try to maintain the airway of the victim. If the victim is drowsy, keep the person in left lateral position so that he does not aspirate the secretions. If tourniquet is already in place, limb ischemic, remove it immediately. But before removing it, get an IV access because once we remove the tourniquet, then it may release the toxin and that can reach to the brain. So always get an IV access, then remove the tourniquet. And if it is limb is not ischemic, don't remove until definite ASV is initiated. That is, we get the anti-snake venom and prepare it, and then we remove the tourniquet and start the ASV. If the snake is viper, remove the tourniquet as soon as possible because it causes the edema in the local wound and this can progress to the whole limb. So especially if the person is a female and wearing the bangles, remove that. Remove the rings because that can further compromise and cause ischemia in the limb. For management of the snake bite, the hospital treatment, we try to secure the airway, breathing and circulation, IV access, avoid repeated venipuncture and coagulopathy. Look for, is it really a snake bite? We should always think a differential diagnosis that it can be under other possible causes like an acute stroke can be there, which can present with unconscious state. There is significant envenomation. That is, we have to see that there are signs of venomous snake bite. Because if it is a dry bite or if it is a non-venomous snake bite, then the person may not develop their signs of toxicity. So no role of anti-snake venom then. What type of snake was responsible then that we can identify by looking at the photograph of the snake or showing the photographs of the common snakes in the area to the victim if the victim is conscious. So that we can try to identify whether it is cobra, crate or viper. Now, while laboratory investigations rule out the coagulopathy and myoglobinuria, bedside studies we go for whole blood clotting test. Lastly, when glass slides are used, urine dipstick, then proteinuria, hemoglobinuria, myoglobinuria, forced expiratory peak flow that can be assessed, and ship the patient nearby district hospital, and we can get the advanced test, that is extended coagulation studies, complete blood profile, electrolytes, renal function test, liver function test, blood glucose, and DIC workup, and creatine phosphokinase can be done. The treatment is anti-venom, anti-snake venom. It is preferable as monovalent, but it is not available in India, so we go for polyvalent anti-snake venom. There are two, that is from the Kasoli and the Hafkin Institute. And the dose is 1 ml of dissolved venom neutralizes 0.6 milligram of common cobra and Russell viper, and 0.45 mg of crate and false snake venom. Most important is whether to give or not anti-snake venom. Whenever in doubt, we give polyvalent anti-snake venom, that is to neutralize. If we are in doubt whether it is cobra, crate, or viper, we give a polyvalent anti-snake venom toxin. What is ESV? ESV is an immunoglobulin. Usually it is enzyme refined and it is purified from the serum or plasma of the horse or sheep, immunized with the venom of one or more species of snake. Indications of anti-snake venom are significant coagulopathy, any degree of paralysis, significant rhabdomyolysis, that is the CPK level more than 5,000, any degree of renal damage, rapidly advancing local effects. Now, no ESV general symptoms unless supported by systemic or marked local symptoms. Now, anti-snake venom dose is, if it is local signs of envenomations are there, we try to give 5 vials of anti-snake venom over 1 hour. And if systemic signs of toxicity are there, we try to give 10 to 15 vials. And we can repeat every 6 hours. The same dose of 5 vials we can repeat. And we have to be careful that the children or the adult, if the victim is either the children or an adult, the dose remains the same. The snake is either a baby snake or an adult snake. The dose remains the same. We don't differentiate according to the age of the victim or if we see that the snake is very small, so we have to give reduced dose. No, the dose is minimum 5 vials has to be given. So 5 to 10 vials we target. Repeat every 6 hours.
वो 7 दिन का क्वारंटाइन नहीं कर रहे क्या?
Now, average dry weight of venom injected is 63 plus 97 mg of Russell viper or cobra. Each vial contains venom of 6 mg of cobra, 6 mg of Russell viper, 4.5 mg of crate venom, and 4.5 mg of slash-scaled viper venom. Initial dose we give 8 to 12 vials, and snake venom, same amount of venom into children. Dose is added as well as the children the same. Now, administration is always intravenous. It is not intramuscular. So, anti-snake venom has to be given intravenously, and dilution in the ratio of 1:10 in normal saline. Administration over a period of 30 to 60 minutes. Start slowly and increase the rate gradually. You can pre-medicate with chlorpheniramine or hydrocortisone if we suspect that person can develop anaphylaxis. If the person victim tells that he has a history of allergy to drugs, then we always think of giving a pre-medication. Even while giving anti-snake venom, we see any sign of anaphylaxis, like if the person develops itching on the side of giving the anti-snake venom, then we can and give Avil and hydrocortisone and proceed further on giving anti-snake venom. If the person develops respiratory distress while giving anti-snake venom, then we should go ahead and give subcutaneously epinephrine. Neutralize the anaphylaxis.
Vivekansu, someone disturbing, please.
I request all the audience to kindly mute their mic so that there is no disturbance. The test dose is not recommended for anti-snake venom. We should not think of giving a test dose if we see whether the person develops anaphylaxis or not, because it is a life-saving medication and person is in a life-threatening status of the snake bite. We should give the full dose of 5 to 10 vials, and it has no predictive value in detecting the anaphylactic or late serum reactions because it is a late reaction. Anti-snake venom reaction is a delayed hypersensitivity, so it will not develop immediately. And it is not IgE mediated, but complement activated. They also pre-sensitize the patient and create greater risk. If the person has received anti-snake venom in the last 3 months, so there's chances of developing the anaphylactic reaction to that. So we have to watch for the victim. The timing of ESV is, there is no consensus as to the window period to administration of ESV. If the person reaches to us and it says that the person has been bitten 8 hours back and now the person is starting developing symptoms, we try to give the anti-snake venom as soon as possible. Even we have administered after 2 days because the person was brought in with pain abdomen, he was investigated, and later on person developed unconsciousness, and during management we found there is a bite mark. We gave the anti-snake venom. Patient came out of ventilator support after 2 days. So even after 2 days, the person can develop the toxicity. What may have happened in that case? We project that the snake venom was lying in the subcutaneous tissue and it was released later on, and so the person developed signs of toxicity later on. So we have to watch for 48 hours. The person can develop signs of toxicity. Best effects are observed within 4 hours of bite and effective in symptomatic patients even when administered up to 48 hours after bite. ASV is efficacious even 6 to 7 days after the bite from vipers. So this has been reported in the journals, but we have not practiced. But if the person is brought with a history of snake bite and person is developing, showing still the signs of toxicity, then we can repeat the dose of anti-snake venom even up to 1 week. So response, how do we assess for the response? Whether person is developing the response to anti-snake venom. We see the signs of stabilization of the blood pressure and autonomic abnormalities. We see there is stoppage of spontaneous bleeding at the sites. There is normalization of blood coagulation, coagulopathy, vascular snake bites, and the neuroparalysis gets reversed. The response will take hours. You have to watch. I will request all the participants to kindly mute.
मैं आज भी कर रहा हूँ उधर आज फोन करके कहते तू कल तो छोड़ बच जाए तेरी मतलब
राजेंद्र तेरा माइक ऑन है, प्लीज ऑफ कर दे।
मेरे को मैं सब डिलीट कर दिया बेंच में।
Kindly mute your mic. All the participants are requested because it will not be able to will not be here the presentation. It will create the disturbance only. So the caution is the recurrence of neuroparalysis. So that we have to watch for. If the person is a snake bite victim, we should not think कि एक बार हमने anti snake venom दे दिया तो अब तो उसको कोई recurrence नहीं है chances paralysis होने के. There are subcutaneous pockets of snake venom which can be there if a person has been victim of multiple snake bites. Like if it has been bitten on multiple sites, so the person may get the recurrence of neuroparalysis. So we have to watch for that. That's why we admit the patient in ICU, watch for at least 3 to 4 days. And repeat anti-snake venom, daily assessment for the need for anti-snake venom for 3 to 4 days. So early signs of anaphylaxis, there is fever, rigors, vasodilation, and fall in BP. Late reactions are the serum sickness. It can be minimum 7 days. The person can develop the signs of serum sickness. The treatment of the anaphylaxis due to antivenom is giving adrenaline, that is, we give intramuscularly or subcutaneously. In severe reaction, we can give intravenously 0.5 ml and 220 ml NS. It is only given when the person BCs are stabilized. And we can repeat Avil and hydrocort. But when we are giving Avil, we have to watch for, because the Avil is itself a sedative. It will further cause compromised airway. We have to secure the airway as soon as possible. The person is developing severe reaction. And if it is a late reaction, like serum sickness, then we can start with chlorpheniramine and steroids orally can be given. Trial of anticholinesterase, that is what we were discussing about Cobra and Crate. That is helpful to differentiate if the person on ventilator and we don't see the response of the anti-snake venom immediately, then we can give the atropine 0.6 mg for adults and neostigmine 0.02 mg per kg for adults and observe for 30 minutes. And if we see there is positive response, that is improvement in the ptosis, respiratory distress, better cough effort, decrease in respiratory rate, then it is suggestive that person may be bitten by a cobra. Now, scorpion envenomation is again very rare in North India, but it is common in Maharashtra. Every year, more than 1 million cases of scorpion sting are seen. Now, it is not a scorpion bite that we should watch for. Although a scorpion can bite by its claws, but it is not venomous. Venomous is the sting. So, although the resultant mortality is lower than that from the snake envenomation, there is substantial morbidity. It is a major public health problem in certain parts of the world, including South India. And Indian red scorpion, that is Mesobuthus tumulus, is common in several parts of rural India. And it is typical small red scorpion, and that can be seen in cases when the person is bitten by scorpion. The signs of envenomation are totally different from the snake, because it is the person is in hyper agitated state. Severe pain is there. That is different from the snake bite. In snake bite, the person will be drowsy, disoriented, person may be comatose. But in scorpion, it is the person is irritated. It is the person is agitated. BP is shooting up. It is sympathomimetic toxidrome which is seen in cases of scorpion envenomation, while in cases of snake bite, it is sympatholytic toxidrome. Can we know why? Do we always question that why there is a difference between snake envenomation and scorpion? In snake, it is a predator. So it wants to hunt its prey, that is a rat. So they try to bite it and paralyze it, and then they eat it. So that is their purpose of paralyzing their prey. So that is snake bite. But in a scorpion, their purpose of sting is not to hunt for their eating. For that, their claws are there. So when they become the prey, the scorpion becomes the prey, they try to defend themselves by using the scorpion sting. They their venom into their predator and they run away. That is the defense mechanism. Scorpion has a defense mechanism as an envenomation, while snakes have a predatory function for venom. That's why the difference of the toxidrome is there. In snake bite, the person will be neuroparalytic. He will not be able to move anywhere. While in cases of scorpion sting, the person will be running away here and there, and he will be in severe pain and in distress. So this is a small red scorpion, and it has a stinger that is a telson in the tail, and that contains the venomous glands. The scorpion hooks the tail over its body, which allows the stinger to penetrate the skin and inject the venom. Now, the scorpion, the target is the alpha toxin. It targets the ion channels, that is the mammalian restricted sodium channel. It inhibits the activation of the channel, prolonged depolarization that causes neuronal excitation, stimulates the autonomic centers, both sympathetic and parasympathetic, and there is massive endogenous release of catecholamines, epinephrine and norepinephrine. So we were discussing about snake bite. There will be fall in BP, fall in pulse rate, but here it will be the shooting of BP, shooting of pulse rate will be there. This is a typical pictographic flow chart in which we can see stages of scorpion envenomation. First, there will be adrenergic excess immediately on the scorpion sting. There will be tachycardia, mydriasis, myocarditis, agitation, seizures can be there, and that can lead to arrhythmias to the heart, myocardial depression, leading to hypotension and shock, and that leads to coma and multi-organ failure. So that is mostly what we document when the person is brought in state of unconsciousness and dies due to respiratory failure causes due to pulmonary injury. Now, second stage, if the person survives the adrenergic excess, then develops the cholinergic excess. That is the parasympathetic effects that leads to bradycardia, vasodilatation, vomiting, diaphoresis, salivation, lacrimation, meiosis, and priapism. Priapism is a typical sign of stimulation that is seen in Indian red scorpion, and it's especially seen in children. Then bronchial secretions are increased, causes the bronchospasm, and then the last cause is neuromuscular excitation causing the muscle spasm, leading to paralysis due to the fatigue, and uncoordinated neuromuscular activity. These all signs and symptoms can be seen in a scorpion envenomation, especially the Indian red scorpion. The treatment is the anti-snake venom, but it is not available because it is only for the black scorpion, which is the American scorpion. The anti-snake venom is available. It binds to toxin and prevents them from reaching the target site, increasing the rate of toxic elimination. And it is indicated in systemic envenomation, and it is a controversial benefit. So what is available in India? It is prazosin. Prazosin is a blocker, and it acts by decreases the peripheral vascular resistance without affecting cardiac output or heart rate or contributing to the elevation of the catecholamine levels. We are glad to know that prazosin was found to be effective by Indian doctor in periphery, doctor who was practicing in Maharashtra, and he published a lot of literature on that. And that's how it became an internationally recognized that prazosin is an effective antidote, and its indication is signs of catecholamine and hypertension. They are the indications for giving prazosin. And the founder was Dr. Bavaskar. He developed this, and now it is practiced all over. The dose is 0.5 milligram prazosin orally every 3 hours we can give to a person, a victim of scorpion sting. Now, the role of atropine. Atropine can reverse the cholinergic excess signs that can be indicated if the person is developing severe bradycardia. The dose is 0.5 milligram atropine. Benzodiazepines are given for as an anticonvulsant for treatment of hypertension associated with sympathetic excitation or sedation and sympathetic relief. Inotropic agents are indicated for cardiogenic shock, and vasodilators are indicated for pulmonary edema. So these are all we discuss about the venomous bites and stings. Anyone has any questions they can discuss? Any queries?
Thank you, Vivekanshu. Very nice presentation for vast subject of snake envenomation and poisoning. It is very concise and very understandable way. Except that identification of the snake that is being not completed at this. This is not at this time. At later time we will that take class on the identification of the venomous and non-venomous snake and its species.
That's really good. A good idea, sir. We would like we can carry forward these master classes on different topics. Like sir has suggested that we can take on identification of all the snakes, then the scorpions, then the plants. The toxic plants also is there. So we have a good collection. So whenever the time is suitable or the date, if we can plan for the next month, we can carry forward every month. I will request Sania sir.
Yes.
And
once in a month is sufficient.
Dr. Vivekanshu, it is very good presentation. But the problem with the students, they are not able to identify the type of snake in emergency.
Yes, sir. We have that separate session. We have collected the specimen of all the snakes.
Yes. In the emergency, most of the students, they are not able to identify which kind of snake.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That can be identified easily. I can give you just a simple clue, and I can. That is, if a snake is black in color, and it is without a hood, and it is banded, then it is a banded kit.
Yes,
if it is with a hood, then it is a cobra.
I think some kind of specimen should be available in emergency to identify a particular snake.
Please.
Yes, sir, definitely. We have few specimens, but
one is my suggestion.
Yes, sir.
In our forensic fraternity, Dr. Sanjoy Das is very good source of collection of the snakes.
Yeah.
I have seen their snakes. First time they were seized by the forest department in long back, but they have returned that these snakes. We will request to Dr. Sanjoy Das that he will take such a good class for this. I will ask him and request him for a master class on the snake identification.
Sir,
The
on
best
the next,
example for identification of snake is the reverse examine the belly of the snake. That is important. Poisonous and non-poisonous snake, it is examination of the belly.
Yes, sir.
90% snake are identified by only belly, but the art that will be demonstrated in another next master
Yes, sir.
class.
Definitely, sir.
Yes, yes.
Would be good idea, sir. Any other suggestion from all the participants? They want any other topics? Priyanka, ma'am?
Then Sunny, Vivekansu,
Yes, sir.
in the next class, next seminar, we will invite Dr. Sanjay Das with
Yes,
full
sir.
preparation and with the photographs and specimens.
Definitely, sir. So,
Yes,
uh,
yes, yes.
So we can plan in the next month on the last Sunday. It is possible, sir?
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Definitely, sir.
We all of
We will work on.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. You can decide according to the availability of Dr. Sanjay Das, sir, as well as availability of Kochar, sir.
Yes, sir. Vivekansu, my request to all of you, we are first for the our subject.
Yes, sir.
अपन we are हम सब पहले अपना काम करेंगे. We are first for subject, then any other work.
Yes, sir.
So I will request to Dr. Sanjay Das in next time. He is my very friend and my senior. You always keep the बरगद of कोचर साहब.
Yes, sir.
कोचर साहब अपने बरगद है राजस्थान के. He is the बरगद tree of the Rajasthan.
Yes, sir.
He can manage anyone.
Definitely, sir. That is a good idea, sir.
कोचर साहब को मैनेज कर ले, सब मैनेज हो जाएगा.
तो नेक्स्ट इसका मेरा सजेशन है, जो हमारा नेक्स्ट थीम रहेगा इस बार हमारा था टॉक्सिक डिटेक्टिव. नेक्स्ट हमारा थीम रहेगा हर्ब्स एंड हर्ब्स. हर्ब्स में हमारे सारे हर्पेटोलॉजी आ जाएगा. इसमें सारे स्नेक्स हैं, आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ ऑल द स्नेक्स.
We will prepare for it for previous prior to the topic.
Yes,
then sir. we provide a slide to everyone. Then we start the seminar.
Yes,
we will provide PPT to everyone.
Definitely,
so they
sir.
can also so they can also be able to read.
Definitely, sir. That's a good idea.
And you give the agenda to Dr. Kochar sir. He can manage everything. Kochar sir has enough power, any kind of power for teaching.
Yes, sir.
In Rajasthan, you give the agenda to Dr. Kochar. He can manage everything.
Sir, with this we can conclude the session.
Yes. Dr. Pillai नहीं आ रहा क्या?
पिल्ले सर नहीं आए सर. वो उनका मैसेज आया था ही इज नॉट. बीच में तो उन्होंने ज्वाइन कर लिया था मॉर्निंग में, लेकिन वो कुछ वर्क आ गया तो इस कारण से सर ज्वाइन नहीं कर पाए.
Kovan, it is very good class today. Good seminar. For next seminar, we will decide the date and topic, and we will prepare the topic and distribute the PPT for everyone.
Yes, sir.
Or in after the corona period, I request all of the followers to come my center in the April or May. We will celebrate a lunch or dinner here with the modified ICU for snake bite, animal bite, poisoning, toxicology. हम सबका गर्व से सिर ऊंचा हो जाएगा यार. We are working with branch.
WHO का डे आ रहा है, वर्ल्ड हेल्थ डे 7 अप्रैल को.
Yes.
कर सकते हैं उस दिन हम ऑर्गेनाइज कर सकते हैं इवेंट, एंड वी कैन डू दैट व्हाइल लर्निंग टॉक्सिकोलॉजी. सो
yes
along with snakes and snacks हम कर सकते हैं सर.
Doctor, we will start the coaching with under the umbrella of Dr. Kochar.
हाँ सर, डेफिनेटली. वो तो टीम तो वही है, लेकिन प्रीवियस स्नेक्स स्टार्ट कर देंगे सर. वो पूरा सेशन हमारा है वो आगे हो जाएगा, जिसमें आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ स्नेक, फिर उसके बाद और सर इसमें मेरा रिक्वेस्ट ये है कि हम लिमिट
Yeah.
नहीं करेंगे, ओनली इंडियन स्नेक्स पे बात नहीं करेंगे, वी विल डिस्कस अबाउट ऑल द स्नेक्स। इसमें
Okay, okay, okay.
मोस्ट डेंजरस स्नेक है टाइपन, ऑस्ट्रेलिया का है,
In the
उसके
in
बारे
the
में
next
डिस्कस करेंगे। फिर
in next class we include the South Africa, Malaysia, Indonesia, and
Yes,
Sri Lanka. And some of Dr. they are my friend, very near friend in the South Africa, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Indonesia.
तो उसमें सर मेरा थीम यही है कि इसमें हम ज्यादातर कोबरा क्रेट पे फोकस करते हैं, लेकिन कुछ
Please some
जैसे
some
सबको हम फोकस करेंगे, जिसमें रेटल स्नेक है, माम्बा है, टाइपन
Yeah.
है, कोरल स्नेक्स है, उनको भी
Yes, yes, yes.
आइडेंटिफाई करना थ्योरेटिकली हमें किस तरह से हम आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं, प्रैक्टिकली उनको किस तरह से देख सकते हैं, क्योंकि आजकल एक्सोटिक स्नेक्स भी आते हैं। मेनी पीपल
Yes, yes.
ब्रिंग एक्सोटिक स्नेक्स फ्रॉम आउटसाइड और वो अपने म्यूजियम में रखते हैं, और उससे भी विक्टिम्स कई सफर करते हैं ड्यू टू स्नेक बाइट। हम सारे
Yes, yes,
स्नेक्स
yes.
को एक एज अ जूलॉजी, एज अ जू
Yeah.
हम स्टडी करते हैं, तो उसमें उनको आइडेंटिफाई करना और उससे कितना हम एक्सप्लोर कर सकते हैं, और इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग ऑन द क्राइम सीन, मैनेजिंग
Okay,
द
okay.
केसेस एंड प्रिवेंटिंग द हार्म
Yes, yes.
इन फ्यूचर टू द
I will in the every month we talk with one topic.
यस सर एवरी
हर महीने
मंथ, नेक्स्ट मंथ
every month we will
डिस्कस वन टॉपिक।
yes, yes, yes. Every month भी एक टॉपिक डिस्कस करेंगे अपन।
डन सर।
In the Jaipur, Dr. Priyanka ji very smart and very laborious.
प्रियंका मैम है, दीपाली मैम है।
हमारे दोनों पिलर है।
यस सर।
दीपाली तो हमारा वो है, कोचे साहब का वो है, फोटो है।
यस सर।
दीपाली तो कोचे साहब की फोटोकॉपी है, और प्रियंका सबसे हार्ड वर्कर है।
यस सर।
इनको अपन दे बहुत
टीम वर्क।
सर आप ऑर्डर के लिए करेंगे, बताइए क्या करना है।
yes.
टीम वर्क, या
Yes, teamwork. I think it is enough for today.
Yes, sir.
Or in the next time, Priyanka, we will go to the LMB with you. Priyanka, आवाज आ रही है?
डेफिनेटली सर।
Okay.
बिल्कुल आ रही है सर।
After joining,
अच्छी आती है।
after joining, we will go to the LMB with all of you. We will take the sort of breakfast. जितना संभव होगा, जो पहले जो खाएगा, पहले जो छोड़ेगा उसको पेमेंट करना पड़ेगा। जो पहले
ओके सर।
ओके
डन सर।
ओके थैंक यू ऑल ऑफ यू।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू एवरीबॉडी।
थैंक यू सर।
Thank you everyone. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू कोच
Thanks to Vivekanand for this support.
all of you give the thanks to the Dr. Kochar. He is the Bargat of the forensic toxicology.
थैंक यू सर।
Okay, thank you Kochar sahab.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We are
Thank
all
you,
the
sir.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
Thank you, sir.
दीपाली क्या फोटो नहीं आ रही तेरी? दीपाली तेरी फोटो नहीं आ रही, अब आई। हाँ
दीपाली मैम, आप अपना एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करें।
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. बहुत ही
सर
enlightening sessions थे।
सर कोचर साहब, हम दीपाली को हम दीपक बोलते हैं आजकल।
क्या बोलते हो?
दीपक सिंह। दीपाली ने क्या दीपाली को दीपक बोलते हैं। हमारे डिपार्टमेंट में 3 फीमेल और एक दीपक है। इसलिए हम इसके दीपाली नहीं, दीपक ही बोलते हैं इसको। दीपाली क्या दीपाली जेंडर से, धर्म से सबसे ऊपर है। तो सर अगली बार हम वी डिसाइड द डेट एंड टॉपिक।
अपने डिस्कस करके टॉपिक और वो सब चीज डेट वगैरह सब डिसाइड करेंगे।
और सर पिल्ले सर से बात करके हमें ट्रेनिंग करवानी है सर। हमारी जो ट्रेनिंग होती है ना वो करवानी है। पीले सर से बात करके जो लैब ट्रेनिंग होती है ना 1 वीक वाली, और वो चालू करानी है। थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
Okay, sir. We can close the session. Thank
Yes,
you all.
yes, thank you Vivekanand for your very great, very your hard level.
Thank you, sir.
Very good, thank you। दिवाली गाड़ी में हो क्या?
हाँ, ड्राइव कर रही हूँ।
दिवाली गाड़ी में बैठी अभी।
यस सर।
ओके, थैंक यू
ऑल सर। सर का आशीर्वाद है, अपन सब नई चीज शुरू कर रहे हैं, बहुत ही अच्छा है।
नहीं, हम कोचे साहब का 20 साल पुराना जो सपना उसको पूरा करके दिखाएंगे।
बिल्कुल। और सर विवेकांशु ने कितना अपने राजस्थान का नाम रोशन किया है सर।
नहीं, विवेकांशु वेरी लेबोरियस
दैट ही वाज अ पार्ट ऑफ आवर हिस्ट्री।
परमिशन टू दी
दीपाली, दीपाली,
यस सर,
तुमने
यस सर।
एक मेरा 30 साल पुराना सपना जो था,
यस सर, यस सर,
30 years back,
यस सर।
वो उसका एक न्यूज आइटम अखबार में आया, लेकिन तुमने ग्रुप में किसी ने शेयर नहीं किया और उसको सेलिब्रेट नहीं किया।
यस सर।
डू यू नो दैट?
नहीं सर, बताइए।
वो कोरोना ने अपने डिपार्टमेंट को गिफ्ट दिया है।
अच्छा,
कोरोना ने अपने डिपार्टमेंट को गिफ्ट दिया है।
हाँ।
डीएनए प्रोफाइलिंग की ट्रेनिंग 90s में अपने पास आई थी डिपार्टमेंट में।
अच्छा, वो HPLC मशीन। हाँ, यस।
डीएनए प्रोफाइलिंग की ट्रेनिंग 89-90 में अपने पास आई थी डिपार्टमेंट में। तो मैं इसकी ट्रेनिंग के लिए मैंने प्रपोज किया अपने आप को, तो फंड्स नहीं थे गवर्नमेंट के पास और इसको फिजिबिलिटी नहीं मानी और इसकी एडवर्स रिपोर्टिंग हुई। तो मैंने हार नहीं मानी और मैंने VN माथुर साहब से बात की FSL में। मैंने कहा सर आपके पास फंड्स हैं। तो माथुर साहब ने उस लैब को डेवलप किया और उसको एस्टेब्लिश कर दिया। ठीक है। अब कोरोना में PCR की मशीनें सब जगह आ गई। कोरोना टेस्टिंग के लिए हर कॉलेज के अंदर, हर